Hey Justin.
Rafael, how's it going?
Yeah, doing really well, doing well. How about you?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah,
How
anyway, I was really yeah, grateful for the last session. Um yeah, as I mentioned, I did end up giving a sermon kind of crafted around the victories and the lessons from the past
Mhm.
year. Um and yeah, it was quite I mean, I thought the sermon itself was good. A lot of people gave me good feedback, and yeah, it was interesting to see like some people even like getting quite emotional, like hearing kind of, not just my own personal victories, but kind of the victories as a community that we laid. And um yeah, I was really surprised. One person that I did not expect to get emotional got quite emotional and came up to me, just like gave me a hug and thanking me. And I was like, oh wow, this was quite something.
Mhm.
Um And yeah, another interesting thing that happened was like a member who was like, yeah, kind of like an ex-member for a long time, uh showed up at the service that Sunday. And we always do like opportunity for people to share like public reflections afterwards. And yeah, he stood up and he shared, he kind of said that, he hasn't been around for many, many years. But he really had a great experience that day, and he kind of said that he'd be coming back. Um, and then he actually did come back this past Sunday as well.
Wow.
So that was really, yeah, really exciting. Um, and yeah, just hearing also, some people had conversations with him afterwards. He said that he really loved the kind of the energy, very like positive, upbeat. And um, so yeah, it was just like I just felt like a lot of hope from that.
Mm.
Where people can notice like a shift in kind of the energy maybe from the past. Um, so yeah, that was anyway,
Wow.
that was really exciting to see and hear that.
Wow. Thank you for sharing. Just yeah, it's amazing how you taking this time to connect to your celebration was already very powerful, inspiring for you, but then sharing it with your community at the sermon was also very inspiring for them. Very people get emotional even though they expected. Ex-member kind of is coming back now and things like this. So seems like that
Right.
was very, very meaningful. Uh,
Yeah, absolutely.
um, great, 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 great. Yeah. So, anything else you'd like to share about this week?
Um, yeah, so kind of going into it's kind of a victory slash challenge. It's all kind of mixed up in there. But yeah, recently I've been having uh, you know, conversations with some members, and yeah, just kind of challenging myself to be more transparent and honest about how I'm doing with certain things. Um, yeah, and yeah, really realizing kind of through sharing that like I'm feeling very kind of heavy, or like this kind of difficult feeling around these kind of my experience with the Chuncheon, like the prayers. And um yeah, really realize like feeling like that's not not really where I want it to be right now, and feeling like it's kind of a block for me to kind of get unstuck. Like, yeah, I kind of feel like in a lot of different ways, I'm feeling a little bit stuck. And yeah, some things like holding me back from really being like feeling inspired and motivated to, you know, work on things, to, um, yeah, even some like plans that were already in place, like to follow through with them. Um, and yeah, I do kind of feel like my experience, um, yeah, I guess the experience is like feeling like I'm doing things more out of a sense of uh, pressure, or like feeling pressured from people around me, or a lot of it is just in my own head, the sense of like duty or like fear of being judged, um, rather than from like a place of like, yeah, authentic inspiration, or being excited about, you know, experiences that I'm having. Even though, I can definitely like, capture miracles, if I thought about it. But uh, um, yeah, just kind of generally, I feel like that's kind of a space I've been in for the past few weeks. Um, so yeah, victory is being able to share about it more honestly with
Yeah,
people.
yeah. Mhm.
But yeah, the challenge is definitely still present, I would say.
Mm. Well, yeah. Yeah, thank you for sharing, Justin, so openly and so vulnerably. You're again demonstrating your challenge yourself to be honest and transparent about what you're
Sure.
going through here as well. Um, but yeah, of course, you feel like that was great to do that step, but you also still feel stuck around these feelings of feeling like doing things under pressure. Um, I mean, that's your feeling, your perspective about it, more than from a place of inspiration of what you really feel like you would like to do. Mm,
Right, right.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's completely understandable. I think many people have experienced these things, and whether it's in their job place or in a public position and things like this. Mm. Yeah, and what is that something you would like to focus on today together?
Yeah, I think that would be really, really great. We could
Mhm.
explore that.
Great, great, great. Yeah, yeah. So, what um, if you project yourself at the end of this conversation? Where would you be that would make you say, "Wow, that was really powerful"?
Um, yeah, I think if I could feel like free around this whole thing with the Chenshin Yuan, like I feel like my perspective is very like fixed right now. Like this is the way it is, this is the only way it can be. And I think that's causing a lot of heaviness around it, is that like I don't feel like freedom to kind of change the way I feel about it, change the way that it looks right now, change the way that my life looks right now in relation to these this Chuncheon one. Um, so yeah, if I could feel like this sense of freedom around it, where I could freedom to take action, or freedom to uh yeah, to make a difference in this area, I think that would be quite, yeah,
Mhm.
that would be quite a shift that I'd be excited about.
Mm. So, what you like where you like the place you like to be is to feel really free around how to kind of align and apply this Chongqing One providence right now instead of feeling stuck of one proper way to do things.
Right,
Um, if you really feel inspired to do it.
right.
Mm, mm. Yeah. So what what makes you believe that you're not free
Hmm.
or feel, if you prefer?
Um, yeah. Well, I guess there's a lot of fear around what people, how people perceive me. And there's a fear around making changes that people aren't going to be happy about. Um, yeah, it's a very like strong feeling of like walking on eggshells with anything that has to do with the Chuncheon one. Like, I don't know what I'm doing here. And if I make a wrong move, someone's going to get really upset. It's going to negatively impact their life of faith, or their, not necessarily like their faith in God and your parents. They're all like super faithful people, but um, somehow their spirit, their,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So there's like,
Well,
it's kind of
yeah.
like I'm holding, holding a baby or holding an egg, and I feel like I'm feeling so fearful about dropping it, you know. That's kind of the feeling I get, and so I'm kind of like just like paralyzed with, okay, the way it is right now.
Mm. So there's this place where if I do the way that I do now, I'm sure to not make any mistakes. But if I try to do something else, I might do something wrong, and
Right.
you're afraid of how people would perceive it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's like, if I keep it the way it is now, at least it's safe. Nothing terrible will happen. Um, and at the same time, I'm not exactly, uh,
Mm.
yeah, not super inspired about it. Um, I don't even know if it's like I'm not inspired about the way things are now. It's just like I'm not inspired by this feeling of,
Yeah.
you know,
Okay. Yeah. I have a question. Is like, what do you feel is where do you feel the most stuck? Is it more about the fear of actually doing something wrong, whatever that means, actually wrong? Maybe you also need to define it. Or is it more about how afraid that people would perceive something as wrong? Or maybe something else? What makes the most noise there?
yeah. Yeah, I would say, yeah, it's mostly the fear around someone perceiving something as wrong, or um, yeah, like a negative reaction to a change. Um, yeah, and then just another thing that came up is like, yeah, fear around asking for help, I guess, asking for support. I think that's a big reason why I'm not inspired about the whole thing, is that I feel like I'm doing it on my own. And um, yeah, it just feels like, yeah, I just feel unsupported. Like people, and the thing is, like, people always say that they're praying for me, that like they're there for me, but the reality is like I'm doing everything in the morning. At least I'm doing everything by myself pretty much. I set up the Zoom, I'm seeing, I'm clicking through the slides, I'm reading the Hundoke, leading the prayer. It's um so it's, yeah, and even like when I was on my family reunion, like I was still zooming in to do it, to do it myself. And all, it's just kind of like, yeah, built this frustration of like, yeah, not like not being supported, or just having to do it by myself. Um, so yeah,
Mm.
there's, I think those two main things is like changing something. Um, Yeah, I mean, even that is kind of related to the kind of doing it myself thing, because it's like the main thing I'd want to change is me not having to MC all the time. Like, uh,
And you're
that's
afraid that something would go wrong if you don't MC it, or that somebody else would see it as wrong, or what is your fear around not
yeah,
MC?
yeah. Right. Someone would see it as like, oh, I'm not, I'm not, yeah, like I should be the one leading or something because I'm the pastor or something like that.
So right now, I mean, there could be many different things that you're worried about, and or that you would like to develop and change. And but do you feel like, is it around you being emceeing it and doing it yourself? You feel like that's the kind of key struggle that you have right now?
I think so. Yeah.
Hmm. And so what makes you believe that people would perceive it as wrong that somebody else is emceeing the Junction One prayer in your community?
Makes me perceive that. Okay, well, a couple things come to mind. One is like examples of other leaders who are doing it. Not necessarily doing it by themselves, but they're, showing up to the Junction One every day. Yeah, Takina-san in New Jersey, or President Dunkley is pretty much there every day, and so
So
there's
is
that.
the issue about emceeing or showing up?
Um, it's about emceeing and showing up in person every day. Yeah, I would prefer not to show up every single day in person. I'm happy to, join every day as long as I'm not like traveling or something. Um, but yeah, it's yeah. Anyway, it's yeah. I mean, I don't live like next door to Belvedere. So it's, it's a bit of a drive, and it's quite a lot to, wake up and get ready early in the morning and get over there and pray and then come back and all that. Um, so yeah, it's both.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. And so maybe just going back a little bit again, if there would be no fear of what people would perceive, how would the how would it go? How would you envision it going? Who would be running it? How often would you go? When would you not go? If you had the magic wand, how would it go?
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, I think um, ideally I'd have like 2 to 3 other people who would be willing to kind of rotate emceeing. Um, so yeah, basically I would be going in person maybe a few times a week. Um,
When you say a few times a week, how much is that? Because it could mean different things around.
yeah, so be like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, something like that.
So around 3 times a week, yeah.
Yeah. Um, and then yeah, the other days, there's someone else who's emceeing. I think, yeah, like assistant pastor, senior pastor, or maybe just another one of the members who do show up there every day. Um, yeah, I think
Mm-hmm.
that will. Hmm.
So if you envision the fact that you're not the only one emceeing, there's other people emceeing who both could be emceeing when you're not there, or even if you're there, so it's not always, you could also just attend, and you would go in person 3 times a week approximately. How would you feel? And feeling free about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, I would feel supported. I would feel, um, yeah, I mean, like, yeah, a big part of it is just like not doing it by myself. Like I'd feel like doing it together with others. There's people I could have give and take with about it. Like, what do you think about it? How do you feel the format is? Um,
Yeah.
how was, the Hundoke? What do you think about the length of the Hundoke? What do you
Mm,
think about the way that we're doing the prayer? And it's just like people to talk about it with.
yeah.
I feel
Mm-hmm.
that would make such a huge difference.
Mm,
Um,
yeah. So yeah, the fact that you would be working with others would also help you in actually maybe developing things by talking about others and not having to kind of decide by yourself or whether you change something or not, and feeling stuck there. Mm.
Right.
So what do you feel is blocking you from moving in this direction at this moment?
Um, well, I mean, on one hand, I don't feel like there's anything blocking me. I feel like it's a matter of having the conversations with the right people. Um, yeah, so on one hand, there's that. Um, yeah, of course, there's like, yeah, I mean, yeah, there's still some, fear of
Mhm.
things, but yeah, I mean, what's coming to mind is even like there's specific people that I'm concerned about their reactions.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, what's coming up for me is like talking to those people and
Okay.
um, letting them know what I'm thinking and how I'm feeling about things and certain changes I want to make, things like that. Because I feel like I'm just in my head about it. Because I think they're
Yeah. But
very nice.
what's in your head? I was actually like, what's the sentence that's in your head around this, around the fact that you would start developing in a new direction, and certain people, very specifically, and you can even have that maybe one person in your mind when you think about it. What's the sentence that comes to your mind?
Mm, I didn't like that or something like that.
I
That's
didn't
what.
like that.
Yeah, I didn't like that, or that didn't feel good, or uh, yeah, that's that's what comes to my mind. But it's interesting because it's even hard to imagine that person saying those words because like yeah, they are very like, you know, nice, kind person. Just they're very like, spiritual. They're very like into the prayer and stuff.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, that's all that came to my mind. It's just like, oh, I didn't like that so much, or I want to go back to the other way, or um, yeah,
Yeah. So you can't even reimagine that person saying that, but that's actually what's on your mind when you actually try to think about changing things. Yeah, whether it's bringing a team together and not being present, or all the different aspects of things that you like to develop. That's
right,
currently.
right.
And what does it? No matter if the person would say it or not, what does it kind of trigger in you to hear? I didn't like that.
Mm, yeah, and what it triggers is like, oh, they're disappointed in me, or something like that.
Mm. So you're saying that actually what might be holding you back is that you're afraid to disappoint?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Especially like, yeah, it's like people that have expressed a lot of appreciation and kind of praise for what I've been doing, not just with the Chunchuan, but even before that, like all kinds of stuff as the pastor. Um, yeah, kind of disappointing those people.
Hmm. So you're afraid to disappoint people who express appreciation about the things that you've done so far.
Hmm. Right.
And so it seems like it's in your head, but you don't really completely believe it, yeah? That this would actually happen, that you actually would disappoint them, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, it's it's like on an intellectual level,
Mhm.
I think about it, it's hard to believe.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Hmm.
know, there's like a feeling there. It's just like you know, it's like a feeling.
So I have a question for you that might be challenging for you, but still feel like it's beneficial for you. It's like, so
Sure.
what is the benefit to keep believing that?
Yeah. I mean, what came to my mind earlier was like, oh, yeah, I'm trying to keep people's kind of high praises of me and that feeling of like, yeah, my own significance or um yeah, kind of feeding my own kind of ego in a sense, like, oh, I'm such a good guy and uh, such a great pastor. Um, yeah, that kind of yeah, that's kind of what I see. It's like so it's like an ego trip.
So you feel like some part of you uh, prefers to keep doing the same way to make sure you keep receiving the same praise if you've received so far.
Right, right, exactly, exactly.
Mm. And yeah, what are the benefits of receiving praise? Oh,
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel makes me feel good about myself, I guess, and I can feel like I'm doing enough, that I am enough, that um yeah, that things are okay as they are. Um, I don't have to work as hard if I'm getting praise because things are already going well. Some people's, perspective.
mm,
Um, yeah.
mhm. So yeah, maybe you can um, thank yourself for making sure you get regular praise so that you have the energy to continue your work. Yeah.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
And but now on the other hand, what do you feel like is believing that you need to do the same things um to continue to receive this praise? What problem does it cause now to if you continue staying with that kind of belief and
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think it just makes things very kind of transactional. And yeah, I'm giving up kind of my own power. So I'm kind of allowing myself to be dominated by people who aren't necessarily trying to dominate me, but
Mm, yeah.
I, you know, I'm I am giving up my power to be dominated and swayed by other people's
Mm,
words or yeah, opinions, things like that.
mm,
And at the same time, like, yeah, I'm also trying to dominate people by, trying to get them to keep praising me by,
mm,
being this way or acting this way.
mm,
Um,
mm,
yeah, and in the end, it's like, yeah,
mhm,
leaving me feeling trapped, like,
mhm,
um, yeah, both sides of that.
mm, 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 mm. Yeah, and what would be yeah, so you really feel like you're kind of giving away your power uh by doing that, by staying in that kind of dependence in a certain way. So what would you like to believe that would be more beneficial for the next steps you want to take?
What I want to believe. Mm, hmm, what would I want to believe? Mm, I would want to believe that um, I'm free to make a choice. And by by being free myself, I'm creating space for other people's freedom.
Mm.
That's what comes to my mind.
So would you like to believe that you're free to be yourself, and then giving that freedom to other people as well?
Right.
Mm. And yeah, what yeah, sounds very much more empowering already. And yeah, when is the last time when is the time that you've experienced that actually by being free, you actually allows others to be free? Um,
Mm, right. Um, well, I mean, yeah, even like yesterday, um, I was talking to one member, we had breakfast together, and yeah, just by like allowing like in the beginning of the conversation, I can kind of tell we weren't really sure. Like he definitely wasn't sure like what was the purpose of the conversation, like why did I want to meet and this and that. But just by like starting off sharing freely what was on my mind, um, like he kind of immediately like felt free to also share like what was really going on in his life. And
mm,
um, yeah, it was amazing. It was like automatic. It was like,
mm.
through yeah, just through being a certain way, like he felt the space to be that way as well.
Mm.
And it turned into like a really kind of authentic and real and life-giving opportunity of give and take. Um,
Mm.
so yeah, that's one example of just how the way I'm being can impact the way
Mhm.
others.
Yeah, and yeah, that's amazing. And how do you feel when you connect to that conversation you had, and the experience and impact you had?
Yeah, I mean, it feels great. It's definitely like, yeah, that's the way that I want to live my life. It feels so clear. Um, that's yeah, that's who I am. That's how I make a difference. Is just by um yeah, being that authentic, free person who shares his heart and
Mm.
yeah.
And do you also have another example that comes to your mind about feeling free to change certain things, maybe more on an organization level, and how this has impacted positively other people?
Yeah. Um yeah, I mean I've done like, conditions before where yeah, I felt very afraid to kind of like change things up even in the middle of a condition because it wasn't feeling quite uh where I wanted it to be as far as the experience. And then yeah, making it, making it even better and getting really good feedback from people. Um and yeah, so that's one example. All the kind of changes that we made this past year and
Oh wow.
results that we were able to create because of those. Um, all those are examples of that.
Mm. So actually, the things that we celebrated at the last session were all results of you feeling free to change things or to adapt things when they were not feeling right.
Right. Yeah. Actually, that's
Mm.
right. That's true.
How do you feel when connecting to that?
Um, yeah, it's kind of like, oh yeah, like aha moment, kind of like, of course, like that's so true. everything kind of points to that
Mm,
reality of that truth, you know.
mm. And when you connect to that and you look now at this, intention that you have about trying to change things, try to change your energy around um, the Junction One Providence. Um, what difference does it make when you look at it again?
Yeah. Um, yeah, it definitely, I mean, I can see things that I can do to move things forward. Um, yeah, it's still a little hard for me to imagine a different format or something new with it. Um, but yeah, I feel a bit more free. I feel more freed up to talk to people about it and to have
Mhm.
conversation about it.
Yes.
Uh, and also, yeah, just what comes up is like wanting to make it accessible and empowering for the most amount of people possible. Um, so yeah, not just for, the few who love the super traditional kind of style of things,
Hmm.
but I think even those people, if they think about, I think they also want to have, as many people
Hmm.
receive grace from the Chanshuan as possible. So
Yeah. Mm. Yeah, so you feel like you still can't completely see how or what you're going to change, but you already feel much better in having conversation with certain people, as you mentioned already,
right,
where you're actually going to start already that process of feeling more free to express those things and start a new conversation about
right,
this activity. Yeah.
right, exactly.
And actually, you see the potential of doing that work, making this whole thing more accessible and empowering to most people, and not just the one who are kind of used to the way it's done right now.
Right, right.
Mm.
Exactly.
Great. And yeah, from this place, what do you feel like is your next action step?
Yeah. My next action step is, yeah, I wanna I wanna talk to this one person
Mhm.
that's been very faithful, showing up to Jianshuan. Um, just yeah, give them a call. Uh, and just, yeah, just kind of talk. I just feel like I need to connect so that I'm not like in my head about this person. Um, and and then yeah, another one is talking to uh the team about maybe creating some kind of rotating schedule of leading the Chunchuan prayers. Um, yeah,
Mhm.
that's what comes to my mind.
Great. How do you feel about these action steps?
Yeah, feels good. I
Mhm.
feel it's gonna make a big difference.
Great. Do you feel like it's quite clear of how you're gonna take this action step, or do you feel like it would be helpful if we kind of put it down on paper here, or how do you feel?
Um, yeah, um, yeah, I mean, I think I'll just right after this call send all those
Hmm.
people a message, giving them,
Okay.
sharing my intention to have a talk or to call
Mhm.
them something just so that it's out there and communicated. Um,
Mhm.
I think if I do that, then I'll feel pretty confident that
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
gonna happen.
Great. Wow. Great job, Justin, from like, you know, going into this very difficult topic and trying to kind of, wrestle with what's, going inside, this noise is going inside. Yeah, what is your main insight from this session today?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was very helpful to kind of explore what was going on and um, yeah, somehow you know, even just exploring like what do I actually think about it, and kind of seeing the kind of the ridiculousness of what I was thinking. But you know, it's hard to capture that unless I say it out loud, or, you know, look at it for myself. So that was really helpful. Um, yeah,
Mm,
the thing, and then just the whole point about like, yeah, me allowing myself to be free and authentic and real. How
mm,
that's always pretty been a, you know, it's been kind of a tried and true method of empowering others. And it's brought great results in the past, and, you know, more than likely will continue to, you know,
yeah,
make, and so
great. Yeah, great job again, Justin, and looking forward to hear about these conversations you're gonna have, and how, you know, in its own pace and progress, things are going to shift in a way that you feel more free and more energy around this current Junction One provenance. Mm.
yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, this was great. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Justin. See you soon.
And Raphael, thank you.
Bye bye. Take care.